The morning my HOA president sent a bulldozer onto my family's farm road, she thought she was silencing tractor noise for a few rich homeowners. Turns out she accidentally triggered a federal lawsuit worth over $1 million before most people had even poured their first cup of coffee. Yeah, that happened. And the craziest part? She kept smiling while the bulldozer ripped through my dead father's fence posts like she thought she was landscaping a golf course. By the end of it, the FBI was involved, her own neighbors turned against her, and a federal judge practically told her to bring a checkbook to court. My name's Garrett Showalter. I'm 49 years old, and my family has farmed the same stretch of Pennsylvania land since the 1800s. Dairy cows, soybeans, vegetables, long days, bad backs, early mornings, the whole thing. Nothing glamorous about it. Most mornings start before sunrise with manure on your boots and coffee that tastes like burnt dirt because it's been reheated 3 times already. My father Benjamin ran the farm before me. Hard man, quiet man, not cold, just built from that old school generation where love sounded more like tractors fixed than I'm proud of you. He died 18 months before all this happened when his tractor rolled on a hillside pasture. I found him myself. I don't talk about that part much. After he passed, I just kept working because cows don't care about grief, you know what I mean? They still need milking at 5 a.m. whether your heart's broken or not. Now across from our farm sat this luxury development called Stone Ridge Estates. 64 oversized houses built on what used to be farmland. Big stone entry sign, fake rustic fences, people driving SUVs that never touch dirt unless somebody parked too close to a flower bed. And leading the whole circus was Tabitha Whitlock. Perfect hair, pearl earrings, designer boots that had never seen mud in their lives. She became HOA president about 5 minutes after moving in. Her husband Marshall was tied into the development business too, which mattered later, a lot later. At first the complaints were almost funny. The tractors are too loud. The smell of manure affects property enjoyment. The cows are visible during breakfast. Lady, you moved next to a dairy farm. But Tabitha didn't stop. She filed complaints with the township, the county, even the state agriculture office trying to restrict our road access because farm equipment rolled past the subdivision before sunrise. Problem was that road wasn't just some gravel lane. Back in 2017, my father signed a federal agricultural conservation easement with the USDA. Protected the land permanently from development. The government literally held a legal interest in that road. My dad sat me down when he signed it and said, "This paper matters more than anything we've ever grown here." Turns out he was right. The morning everything exploded. I was in the milking parlor washing down a Holstein named Heidi when our Amish neighbor Eli came sprinting in through the side door looking pale as drywall. "Mr. Garrett," he said, breathing hard. "There's a bulldozer on the south lane." I honestly thought he was joking for about 2 seconds. Then I saw his face. I jumped into the side-by-side and tore down the road still wearing muddy coveralls. And there she was, Tabitha Whitlock, standing there sipping coffee while a yellow Caterpillar bulldozer chewed through my family's limestone farm lane like it was demolition day at a shopping mall. My father's cedar fence posts were already shattered. The old crushed limestone my great-grandfather laid over a century ago was gone in strips. Even the little American flag my mother planted near the gate had been bent into the dirt. And Tabitha? Smiling. Not angry. Not screaming. Smiling. Like she thought she was winning some neighborhood argument. I stopped the side-by-side sideways across the lane and started filming immediately because something in my gut told me this was about to become enormous. The bulldozer operator, just some young kid named Caleb, shut the machine off the second he saw me. Poor guy looked like he already regretted waking up that morning. Then Tabitha marched over with a clipboard tucked under her arm and says, all official sounding, We're conducting authorized community noise mitigation. I remember staring at her for a second thinking, Lady, do you have any idea where you're standing? I told her, calm as I could, this road is federally protected under a USDA conservation easement. You are destroying federal property interests right now. And she actually laughed, said I didn't know what I was talking about. That's when I pulled out my phone and said, Ma'am, I helped draft easement language for half this county. Yes?
Absolutely do.
Now here's where things took a turn she never saw coming. Because my attorney Henry Lehman showed up about 40 minutes later. And Henry wasn't some flashy TV lawyer. He looked like every Pennsylvania farm attorney ever born. Old Buick, faded legal pad, glasses sliding down his nose. But the man understood easement law like a preacher understands scripture. He walked the damage slowly, took photographs, measured the destruction, then sat beside me and said something I'll never forget. Garrett, this is federal, not local, not county, federal. Then he explained Tabitha hadn't just trespassed. She'd violated a federally protected agricultural easement tied directly to USDA enforcement provisions worth up to $1. $2 million in damages. I swear you could actually see the blood leave Marshall Whitlock's face when he arrived later that morning. Because suddenly township politics didn't matter anymore. Now it was the United States government versus them. And the federal government does not get emotionally tired. That afternoon USDA investigators arrived. Sheriff's deputies arrived. County officials arrived. Everybody started taking statements while Tabitha stood near her Porsche pretending she still controlled the situation. She didn't. Not even close. Now here's the twist nobody saw coming. About 6 months before the bulldozer incident, an elderly Mennonite woman named Esther Bear had quietly brought me a folder and a jar of apple butter. I know that sounds like the beginning of a Hallmark movie, but stay with me. Inside that folder were documents proving Marshall Whitlock had already been exploring expansion plans into our western pastureland. Quiet feasibility studies, survey crews, development sketches. They weren't just annoyed by farm noise. They wanted our land. The HOA complaints, the pressure campaigns, the township filings. All of it was building toward making farm operations miserable enough that we might eventually sell. And once Henry tied that motive into the bulldozing incident, oh man, that's when the whole thing turned radioactive. Federal attorneys filed suit. Then state lawsuits followed. Then witness statements started stacking up. The bulldozer operator cooperated. Engineers cooperated. One retired federal prosecutor living inside Stone Ridge even turned over recordings of Marshall trying to pressure homeowners into funding their legal defense. And the homeowners themselves? They started realizing their HOA president had dragged all of them into a federal disaster. People got angry fast. Really angry. By the second week, Tabitha started spiraling. She tried filing anonymous complaints against our dairy operation. She showed up at our church. She tried confronting our Amish farmhand at the gate. At one point, she even attempted to bribe Eli into signing a false statement against me. Eli turned her down immediately. Then his father told the bishop, and somehow within like 6 hours half the farming community knew about it. Pennsylvania farm towns move information faster than Wi-Fi, I swear. Then Marshall made the worst mistake of all. He hired a so-called soil expert to argue our farm had supposedly been inactive before the easement was signed, meaning the federal protections should be void. Except the report was fake, completely fabricated. The dates didn't match crop records, grain receipts, planting schedules, nothing. Henry walked into court carrying stacks of USDA records nearly 2 feet tall. The judge took one look at the evidence trail and basically detonated the Whitlock's defense in real time. I'll never forget the courtroom that morning. My wife Ruth sitting beside me. My oldest son Adler trying to act tougher than he felt. Rows of Mennonite neighbors behind us in plain clothes. Even Stone Ridge homeowners showed up because they wanted to see what their HOA had done. And when the federal attorney finished laying out the case, the room went dead quiet. The judge ruled from the bench. Full summary judgment. $1. $2 million in damages. Hundreds of thousands more in restoration costs and legal fees.
Permanent injonction.
Federal criminal referrals. The whole thing. Then Tabitha actually stood up in court and yelled, "This is a setup." The bailiff escorted her right out the side door while everybody watched in silence. You could hear shoes squeaking on the courtroom floor. That quiet. A few months later, the HOA collapsed completely. Tabitha got removed almost unanimously. Marshall's business fell apart. Their luxury house got sold off. And the federal government funded restoration of our farm lane using the original road grade my great-grandfather laid over a century ago. My son helped me set the replacement cedar fence post where my father's old one used to stand. That part hit me harder than the courtroom did. Funny how that works. Now every spring I still drive that lane before sunrise, checking fences and listening to tires crunch over fresh limestone. And every single time I think about how close we came to losing it. Not just the road, the whole farm. Because sometimes people with money and influence honestly believe they can outlast families like ours. They think paperwork beats roots. Sometimes it does. But not that time. That time the paper happened to belong to the United States Department of Agriculture. And that's a fight even rich HOA presidents can't bulldoze their way through. So here's what I want to know from you guys. If somebody destroyed part of your family property claiming it was for the community, would you have fought back the same way? Or would you have settled quietly and moved on? Because believe me, some folks around here still think I went too far. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one.